Clara Barton, born Clarissa Harlow Barton on December 25, 1821, in Oxford, Massachusetts, was the youngest of 5 children in a middle-class family. Her early life was marked by a profound sense of compassion and an eagerness to help others, traits that would define her entire life. Raised during a time when the roles for women were quite restricted, Barton's early education came primarily from her older siblings, especially her brothers, who instilled in her a love of learning and a rugged individualism. Even as a child, Clara displayed a notable inclination towards caregiving. At the age of 11, she undertook the care of her brother David following a severe accident, a pivotal experience that significantly shaped her understanding of nursing and patient care. This early exposure to caregiving not only highlighted her innate resilience but also her ability to remain composed under pressure. Clara's motivations to help others were deeply personal and spiritual. Inspired by the Universalist Church, which preached the doctrine of universal salvation and service to mankind, Clara adopted a worldview that emphasized the importance of practical humanitarian efforts. Her religious upbringing instilled a belief in the equality and value of every human life, which later became the cornerstone of her humanitarian work. Throughout her early life, Clara faced and overcame significant social barriers. In a time when women were largely expected to remain in domestic roles, Barton pursued teaching and later worked in the U.S. Patent Office in Washington, D.C. These experiences not only demonstrated her capabilities in traditionally male-dominated environments but also helped forge her path toward becoming one of the most notable humanitarians of her time. From her childhood experiences to her early professional life, Clara Barton was driven by a powerful sense of duty and a compassionate heart. Her formative years laid the groundwork for her later achievements, painting a portrait of a woman whose life would become synonymous with dedicated service and profound empathy. As we delve into Clara Barton's narrative, we witness a journey marked by courage, innovation, and an unwavering commitment to humanity, a journey that began in the humble settings of a Massachusetts farmhouse but would impact the world stage for generations to come. Clara Barton's journey into education began at a remarkably young age of 15 when she started teaching in schools around Massachusetts. Her entry into teaching was not just a professional choice but a demonstration of her inherent desire to contribute positively to society. Barton was recognized for her effective teaching methods and her ability to manage classes of varying sizes and age groups. She was particularly adept at making education accessible and engaging for her students, emphasizing practical skills alongside traditional academic subjects. Her teaching career, which spanned for over a decade, was punctuated by her advocacy for higher teachers' salaries and improved education for all children, irrespective of their social status. Her progressive views on education reform highlighted her belief in equality and her commitment to social justice. Despite her success, Clara faced significant challenges as a woman in a male-dominated profession. Her push for educational reform and better pay for teachers, especially women, was often met with resistance. Nevertheless, Barton's persistence led to the founding of a free school in Bordentown, New Jersey, in 1852. The school was the first of its kind in the area and quickly grew to a significant enrollment under her leadership. However, despite her pivotal role in the school's development, Barton was passed over for the position of headmaster in favor of a man, a common occurrence that highlighted the gender biases of the time. This incident was a turning point for Barton, leading her to resign and move to Washington, D.C. in 1854. There, she took a position as a clerk in the U.S. Patent Office, where she became one of the first women to hold a government job. Her time at the Patent Office was another demonstration of her resilience. She faced and fought significant gender discrimination, advocating not only for herself but also setting a precedent for future generations of women in the workforce. Clara Barton's early career laid a solid foundation for her life's philosophy and future endeavors. Through her work in education and the federal government, she challenged societal norms and advocated for equal rights and opportunities. These experiences not only honed her skills in leadership and advocacy but also deepened her resolve to assist those in need, setting the stage for her monumental contributions during the Civil War and the founding of the American Red Cross. Her early professional life is a testament to her character, a blend of compassion, determination, and a relentless pursuit of justice. As the Civil War broke out in 1861, Clara Barton was living in Washington, D.C., working at the U.S. Patent Office. The war immediately impacted the city, transforming it into a hub for the military and the wounded. Barton's humanitarian instincts quickly drove her to action. Witnessing the arrival of the 6th Massachusetts Infantry, many of whom were wounded and unprepared for the harsh realities of war, Barton was deeply moved. Her brother and other close acquaintances were also fighting, which further personalized the conflict for her. Motivated by a profound sense of duty and compassion, Barton began gathering medical supplies through her own efforts and with the help of friends. She recognized the inadequacies in military medical care and saw a crucial need that she felt compelled to fill. Her work began in earnest in her own home, where she collected and distributed supplies and treated the wounded. Clara Barton's role quickly expanded beyond that of a simple caretaker. As her involvement grew, she gained permission to travel to battlefields, a rare approval for a woman at the time. Barton bravely brought supplies to the front lines and nursed soldiers during major battles, including Cedar Mountain, Second Bull Run, Antietam, and Fredericksburg. Her presence at these critical moments of conflict earned her the nickname Angel of the Battlefield. Barton's work extended beyond physical care. She provided emotional support to the troops, often writing letters for them to send to their families. Her approach to caregiving was holistic. She cared for the soldiers' physical wounds and tended to their emotional and psychological needs. This comprehensive care was pioneering at the time and highlighted the need for what would later become modern social work practices in military contexts. Clara Barton faced immense challenges during the Civil War. The chaos of battle, the severity of the wounds she treated, and the scarcity of supplies were constant hurdles. Additionally, working in a male-dominated field, she often had to assert her right to be present on the battlefield and to lead her initiatives. Barton frequently encountered skepticism and resistance from military officials, but her determination and evident impact eventually earned her a significant degree of respect and autonomy. Moreover, the physical and emotional toll of her wartime service was profound. Barton worked under extreme conditions, often at the risk of her own health and safety. Her relentless dedication to her work during the Civil War set a precedent for her later humanitarian efforts and laid the foundational practices for emergency medical care and disaster response that the American Red Cross would adopt under her leadership. Clara Barton's Civil War service was marked by courage, innovation, and an unwavering commitment to the welfare of soldiers. Her actions during the war not only alleviated the suffering of countless individuals but also transformed public perceptions of women in wartime and established her as a pioneering figure in nursing and humanitarian work. Clara Barton's initiative to form the American Red Cross was significantly inspired by her trip to Europe following the Civil War. During her stay, she became acquainted with the Red Cross network established under the Geneva Convention of 1864, which aimed to improve care for those wounded in war. She was particularly influenced by her meeting with Dr. Louis Appia, a member of the International Committee of the Red Cross, and Gustave Moynier, its president. Their work highlighted the potential for an organized, neutral organization to provide aid during conflicts, a concept Barton found compelling and necessary for the United States. Motivated by the international model and her wartime experiences, Barton returned to the U.S. with a determined vision to establish a similar organization stateside. In 1881, she founded the American Red Cross, adapting the principles of the International Red Cross movement to meet the unique needs of American society. The organization was built on the principles of providing humanitarian aid not only in war but also in response to natural disasters, a pioneering expansion of the original mission. Setting up the American Red Cross came with considerable challenges. Barton faced skepticism and resistance, both politically and socially, as she lobbied for the U.S. to ratify the Geneva Convention and accept the Red Cross Treaty. Her efforts to garner government support and secure funding were initially met with indifference and even opposition, as many did not see the necessity of such an organization in peacetime. Despite these hurdles, Barton pressed forward, and the American Red Cross launched its first major relief effort in response to the Great Fire of 1881 in Thumb, Michigan. This operation was not only a test of the organization's capabilities but also served as a proving ground for Barton's vision. The successful management of the crisis relief efforts helped to cement the legitimacy of the American Red Cross and demonstrated its vital role in American society. Under Barton's leadership, the organization swiftly expanded its scope to include assistance during yellow fever epidemics, floods, and other peacetime disasters, thus establishing the foundation for the modern Red Cross. Barton's hands-on approach in these early operations exemplified her commitment to direct action and personal involvement, traits that would define the Red Cross during her tenure as president. The formation of the American Red Cross marked a significant milestone in humanitarian aid, with Clara Barton at its helm, guiding it with her indomitable spirit and compassionate leadership. Her efforts not only alleviated immense human suffering but also revolutionized how humanitarian aid was organized and delivered, both in the United States and internationally. Under Clara Barton's leadership, the American Red Cross swiftly broadened its mission beyond the battlefield, responding to a variety of peacetime crises that included natural disasters like floods, fires, and epidemics. This expansion was revolutionary, as it marked one of the first times a humanitarian organization had addressed domestic disasters in a structured manner. Barton personally oversaw these efforts, bringing aid to victims of the 1889 Johnstown flood, one of the deadliest disasters in U.S. history, which solidified the Red Cross's role in domestic disaster response. Her approach was holistic, providing not just immediate relief but also long-term support through the rebuilding phase. As the Red Cross grew, it faced numerous institutional challenges, including logistical complexities and the need for a more formalized operational structure. Barton's leadership style was intensely personal and hands-on, which was effective in the early years but became increasingly challenged as the organization needed to institutionalize and manage a growing number of volunteers and resources. There were calls for more systematic procedures and better financial accountability, reflecting tensions between Barton's personalized approach and the evolving needs of a large organization. Barton's response to these challenges was to focus on the humanitarian mission of the Red Cross, arguing that bureaucracy should not hinder humanitarian efforts. She fought to maintain her vision of the Red Cross as a responsive and adaptive organization, even as she worked to implement more structure and formal processes. Her leadership during this expansion phase was marked by her ability to inspire volunteers and manage complex operations, though not without criticism and conflict, particularly concerning governance and oversight. The expansion of the American Red Cross under Clara Barton's stewardship illustrates her foresight in recognizing the broad potential of humanitarian work beyond wartime aid. Her pioneering efforts set the stage for the modern Red Cross, establishing protocols for disaster response that are still in use today. Despite the growing pains associated with scaling up the organization, Barton's unwavering dedication ensured that the Red Cross remained at the forefront of emergency response, providing a template for future humanitarian missions around the world. After over 2 decades of dedicated service, Clara Barton resigned from her position as the president of the American Red Cross in 1904, at the age of 83. Her retirement was not an end to her humanitarian efforts but a shift towards a more reflective phase of her life. Barton spent her later years at her home in Glen Echo, Maryland, which also served as a warehouse for the Red Cross during her presidency. Here, she continued to advocate for public health, first aid, and emergency preparedness. Barton also dedicated time to writing and documenting her experiences. She penned her autobiography, The Story of My Childhood, which was published in 1907. This work provided insights into the formative experiences that shaped her into the formidable leader she became. Her writings, rich with reflections on her life's work, served not only as historical records but also as inspirational material for future generations of humanitarians. Clara Barton passed away on April 12, 1912, at her home in Glen Echo, leaving behind a monumental legacy. Her death was widely mourned across the United States and internationally, reflecting the broad impact of her life's work. She was buried in her hometown of Oxford, Massachusetts, in the family plot at North Cemetery. Posthumously, Barton's life and achievements have been celebrated in numerous ways. She has been commemorated on U.S. postage stamps, and her birthplace in North Oxford is preserved as a museum, the Clara Barton Birthplace Museum. Furthermore, numerous schools, hospitals, and awards have been named in her honor, reflecting the lasting impact of her work. Her legacy is also preserved through the continuing work of the American Red Cross, which remains guided by the principles she championed. The organization's ongoing commitment to disaster relief and preparedness is a testament to Barton's vision and her foundational role in establishing what has become one of the most significant humanitarian organizations in the world. Clara Barton's enduring legacy is marked not only by the organization she founded but also by her role as a pioneer for women in leadership and humanitarian action. Her life story continues to inspire those dedicated to service and care, demonstrating the profound impact one individual can have on the health and welfare of humanity. Clara Barton's influence on nursing and humanitarian work is profound and enduring. Her hands-on approach during the Civil War highlighted the critical need for organized and compassionate care for the wounded, fundamentally shifting how nursing care was administered in war settings. Prior to Barton's intervention, nursing was seen largely as an informal practice, often performed by untrained volunteers or family members. Barton's efforts helped to professionalize nursing, emphasizing the need for training, organization, and a humanitarian approach to patient care. Her work led to greater recognition of the role of women in healthcare and contributed to the broader movement towards professionalizing nursing that was contemporaneously being advanced by figures like Florence Nightingale. Barton advocated for the importance of not only medical care but also psychological and emotional support, broadening the scope of what nursing care entailed. Her influence was instrumental in the development of the American Red Cross's nursing programs, which trained nurses for both disaster response and everyday emergencies, setting standards that would be adopted internationally. Clara Barton's impact on humanitarian work extends beyond her immediate contributions in nursing and the American Red Cross. She demonstrated the effectiveness of an organized approach to disaster and crisis management, influencing humanitarian strategies worldwide. Barton introduced the concept that humanitarian aid should not only respond to wartime calamities but also to peacetime disasters, thus expanding the scope of what humanitarian organizations could and should do. Her insistence on neutrality and impartiality in providing aid, irrespective of race, religion, or nationality, helped to shape the fundamental principles of modern humanitarian law and the operations of international aid organizations. Barton's work set a precedent for integrating women into humanitarian roles, empowering a new generation of female leaders in global health and aid. Furthermore, Barton's legacy in humanitarian work is marked by her personal commitment to the values of compassion, resilience, and leadership. She inspired countless individuals to take up the cause of humanitarian aid, contributing to a culture of volunteerism and service in the United States and around the world. Her ethos of direct action and personal involvement in crises has continued to influence the strategies of the American Red Cross and other similar organizations. Clara Barton's contributions to nursing and humanitarian work remain vital components of her legacy, demonstrating how individual dedication to service can lead to profound changes in societal practices and the betterment of human welfare globally. Through her pioneering spirit and unwavering dedication, Barton not only transformed the field of nursing but also set the stage for the modern humanitarian movement. Clara Barton's leadership style was distinctly marked by her compassion, resilience, and an unshakable commitment to service. Her ability to lead under extreme conditions was demonstrated repeatedly throughout her career, particularly during the Civil War and in the founding and expansion of the American Red Cross. Barton was a visionary leader who saw the potential for a national organization dedicated to disaster relief and took decisive action to realize that vision. One of Barton's most defining traits was her hands-on approach to leadership. She believed in leading from the front, often personally participating in the most challenging relief efforts. This not only allowed her to understand the needs and conditions on the ground but also served to inspire and motivate her volunteers and staff. Her presence in the field during battles and disasters conveyed a powerful message of solidarity and commitment, which was crucial in building trust and loyalty among her teams. Additionally, Barton was known for her incredible ability to mobilize and manage resources in chaotic environments. Her organizational skills, coupled with a profound ability to empathize with those in distress, made her an effective leader in humanitarian crises. She was also a strong advocate for her cause, capable of navigating the political and social landscapes of her time to garner support for her initiatives. When compared to contemporary leaders like Florence Nightingale, Barton's style was similarly transformational but unique in its application to the American context. Both leaders were pioneers in nursing and humanitarian work, yet Barton's approach was often more direct and singularly focused on immediate action. Whereas Nightingale laid the foundations for modern nursing through structured training and hospital care, Barton pushed the boundaries of what was expected of women in her time by taking leadership roles in frontline scenarios that were typically reserved for men. Barton's leadership was also marked by a degree of personal sacrifice and an intensity that set her apart from her peers. Her willingness to risk her own health and safety to aid others was a testament to her dedication. This trait resonated deeply during her time, as it broke through the societal norms that often restricted women's roles to the domestic sphere. Despite her strengths, Barton's leadership style was not without its challenges. As the American Red Cross grew, the need for a more formalized administrative structure became evident. Barton's preference for a hands-on, less bureaucratic approach occasionally clashed with the organizational needs of a growing institution. This tension highlights a common challenge for founders: the shift from startup mode, where direct involvement and charisma can drive an organization, to a mature organization that requires structured governance and operations. In conclusion, Clara Barton's leadership style was characterized by direct action, compassion, and personal courage. Her ability to inspire through personal examples set her apart and made her a revered figure in American history and a benchmark in humanitarian leadership. Her legacy is a powerful reminder of the impact that dedicated leadership can have on society and the progress of humanitarian efforts globally. As the American Red Cross grew under Clara Barton's leadership, it faced a variety of internal challenges that tested the organization's stability and Barton's leadership. One of the main issues was the tension between the need for a centralized, structured organization capable of handling large-scale operations and Barton's more personalized, decentralized approach. This tension manifested in several ways, including disputes over management practices and the direction of the organization. Barton's leadership style, which was highly personal and hands-on, sometimes clashed with the organizational need for systematic procedures and formal governance. As the Red Cross took on more complex national disaster responses, the lack of formal structure sometimes led to operational inefficiencies and criticisms over the handling of funds and decision-making processes. These challenges were exacerbated by Barton's reluctance to delegate significant authority, which some board members and stakeholders viewed as a bottleneck for organizational growth and effectiveness. Criticism of Barton's management of the Red Cross often centered on her handling of finances and her resistance to adopting more modern administrative practices. Critics argued that her approach, while effective in the early years of the organization, was not suitable for managing the growing scale and complexity of the Red Cross operations. These criticisms grew louder as the organization's activities expanded, and there were increasing calls for more transparency and accountability. In response to these criticisms, Barton eventually began to implement some changes, although she maintained her core belief in the importance of flexibility and personal involvement in disaster response. She also worked to strengthen the Red Cross's national presence and improve its ability to respond quickly to disasters by establishing more local chapters, which helped to decentralize some aspects of the organization's operations. Despite these efforts, the criticism did not fully subside, leading to Barton's resignation in 1904. Her resignation marked a significant transition for the Red Cross, which then began to adopt more formal organizational structures and practices. This shift allowed the Red Cross to scale its operations and become more effective in its response capabilities, while still maintaining the humanitarian spirit that Barton had instilled. The challenges and controversies faced by Clara Barton illustrate the difficulties inherent in transitioning a founder-led organization to a more structured, formal entity. Barton's experiences highlight the balance that leaders must strike between maintaining their visionary approach and adapting to the operational needs of a growing organization. Her legacy in the Red Cross serves as a valuable case study in leadership, particularly in how to manage growth and change in a mission-driven organization. Clara Barton's personal philosophy was deeply rooted in a sense of duty to humanity and a belief in the intrinsic value of every individual. Her commitment to providing aid and relief to those in need, regardless of their circumstances, was influenced by her upbringing and her early experiences with caregiving. Barton believed that compassion and empathy were essential qualities, not just for personal virtue but as driving forces for social change and progress. Her approach to humanitarian work was characterized by a relentless pursuit of alleviating suffering and an unwavering belief in action over rhetoric. Barton often spoke about the importance of doing the thing, rather than merely talking about it, reflecting her pragmatic and results-oriented mindset. This philosophy was evident in her hands-on approach to aid, whether on the battlefield or in response to natural disasters. One of Barton's most famous quotes encapsulates her approach to life and work: "I may be compelled to face danger, but never fear it, and while our soldiers can stand and fight, I can stand and feed and nurse them." This statement reflects her courageous spirit and her dedication to service, emphasizing her role in supporting those facing the horrors of war. It highlights her resolve to provide practical help and comfort in the face of danger, underscoring her belief in the critical importance of direct action in times of crisis. Another notable quote by Barton is, "The surest test of discipline is its absence." This reflects her views on the importance of self-regulation and internal order, both in personal conduct and in managing operations. Barton understood that true discipline isn't about external control, but rather about internal consistency and reliability, especially in chaotic situations like those she often faced. Clara Barton's principles of compassion, action, and personal courage remain highly relevant in today's world. In an era where humanitarian crises and natural disasters continue to pose significant challenges, her emphasis on direct involvement and empathy in aid work continues to inspire current generations. Her belief in the power of individuals to effect change encourages ongoing volunteerism and participation in community and global efforts. Moreover, Barton's dedication to breaking barriers and forging paths in new territories, especially for women in leadership and challenging roles, continues to influence discussions on gender and leadership in the 21st century. Her life and work serve as a powerful reminder of how personal philosophy can translate into widespread social impact, providing lessons on leadership, compassion, and the enduring human spirit. Clara Barton's life and philosophy offer timeless wisdom on the importance of conviction, courage, and compassion, values that are as important in addressing today's challenges as they were in her time. Her legacy encourages us to act with courage, lead with empathy, and never underestimate the power of individual initiative to foster collective well-being. Clara Barton's life was profoundly influenced by a number of key figures who shaped her perspectives and empowered her in various stages of her career. Early on, her father, Captain Stephen Barton, a veteran of the Indian Wars, imparted to Clara the importance of service and dedication to one's country, which played a crucial role in her later decision to aid soldiers during the Civil War. Her mother, Sarah, taught her the virtues of patience and hard work, qualities that would define Clara's tireless efforts in both teaching and humanitarian work. Another pivotal relationship was with Susan B. Anthony and Frances Willard, leaders in the women's suffrage movement. Through interactions with these influential women, Barton was encouraged to push the boundaries traditionally imposed on women of her time, which bolstered her resolve to lead the American Red Cross and participate actively in public life. Barton also formed significant friendships with influential figures during her travels in Europe, such as Dr. Louis Appia and Gustave Moynier of the International Red Cross. These connections not only introduced her to the global Red Cross network but also helped her envision the potential for a similar organization in America. Throughout her career, Clara Barton collaborated with various government officials and military personnel, which sometimes led to conflicts given her strong-willed nature and insistence on operating independently. Her collaboration with President Abraham Lincoln, for instance, was crucial as she undertook the role of identifying and marking the graves of Union soldiers, a project that led to the establishment of the National Cemetery in Andersonville, Georgia. This task, while monumental, also exposed her to bureaucratic challenges and the slow pace of government processes, which sometimes frustrated her but never deterred her mission. Barton's relationships with her peers in the Red Cross were complex. While she was revered for her pioneering vision, her leadership style, particularly her reluctance to delegate and her preference for hands-on management, sometimes resulted in tensions with other board members who were keen on modernizing the organization's administrative practices. The personal and professional relationships Clara Barton cultivated throughout her life had a significant impact on her work and the development of the American Red Cross. These relationships not only provided her with moral support and intellectual stimulation but also helped her navigate the challenges of expanding the Red Cross's scope of work. Her ability to forge meaningful connections with influential individuals enabled her to advocate effectively for the organization and its mission. Moreover, the conflicts and collaborations she experienced underscored the importance of adaptability and resilience in leadership, qualities that were instrumental in her ability to lead the Red Cross through its formative years and beyond. These encounters enriched her life and work, leaving an indelible mark on her legacy as a pioneer in humanitarian aid and as an advocate for the power of determined leadership in the service of humanity. Clara Barton's impact on American society extends far beyond her direct contributions to healthcare and emergency response. She emerged as a cultural icon who redefined the role of women in society and in the professional sphere. By stepping into roles that were traditionally reserved for men, particularly during times of war and crisis, Barton challenged the prevailing norms and expectations for women. Her work during the Civil War and her leadership in the American Red Cross served as powerful examples of how women could take on leadership roles in challenging environments. Barton's influence was also significant in shaping public perceptions about volunteerism and civic responsibility. She was instrumental in promoting the idea that everyone, regardless of gender or professional background, has a role to play in responding to community needs. This notion helped to foster a culture of volunteerism in the United States that continues to this day. Clara Barton has been commemorated in numerous ways in popular culture and media, which highlights the lasting impact of her legacy. She has been the subject of various books, documentaries, and films that explore her life and contributions. Schools, hospitals, and other institutions across the country bear her name, serving as reminders of her enduring influence on American healthcare and emergency services. Her story has been particularly impactful in education, where it is often used to teach values of compassion, resilience, and leadership. Barton is also a featured figure in museums and historical sites related to the Civil War and the history of the American Red Cross, where her personal artifacts and correspondences provide a window into her life and times. Barton's image and legacy have also been immortalized through commemorative stamps and memorials, including a U.S. postage stamp issued in her honor. These forms of recognition not only celebrate her contributions but also serve to educate the public about her role in American history. Clara Barton's cultural and social impact is perhaps most profoundly felt in how she promoted humanitarian values. Her example inspired subsequent generations to engage in social and humanitarian causes, reinforcing the idea that compassionate action can bring about significant societal changes. Her life demonstrated the power of individual initiative and the importance of caring for those in distress, principles that have become central to the missions of countless organizations following in her footsteps. Through her pioneering spirit and her unwavering dedication to serving humanity, Clara Barton not only left a mark on her own society but also on the global stage, influencing the development of international humanitarian laws and practices. Her legacy is a testament to how one person's efforts can indeed change the world, a message that continues to resonate in various cultural and social contexts today. Clara Barton and Florence Nightingale are two towering figures in the history of nursing and humanitarian work, each pioneering new approaches within their respective countries during the 19th century. While both women made indelible marks on medical and disaster relief practices, their approaches and the contexts in which they worked provide a rich basis for comparison. Florence Nightingale, often dubbed the Lady with the Lamp, revolutionized nursing through her systematic approach to hospital care and nursing education. Her experiences during the Crimean War led her to develop formal training programs for nurses, emphasizing sanitation, patient care, and statistical methods to improve hospital efficiency. Nightingale's approach was highly analytical and focused on establishing nursing as a respectable profession for women. Clara Barton, on the other hand, became known as the Angel of the Battlefield during the American Civil War, not just for her nursing skills but for her ability to organize and lead under extremely challenging conditions. Barton's focus was on immediate crisis response, providing direct aid to those in need. Unlike Nightingale, Barton's approach was less about formalizing nursing as a profession and more about mobilizing resources and personnel to respond to emergencies. Both women viewed their work as a call to service, driven by a deep sense of duty and compassion. However, Barton's leadership extended into the formation of the American Red Cross, adapting her battlefield experiences to peacetime crises, thereby broadening the scope of humanitarian aid beyond war. The impact of Barton and Nightingale also extended to international humanitarian laws and practices. Nightingale's influence on health policies and her advocacy for public health reforms reached into the governmental policies of Britain and beyond, shaping public health systems and the professionalization of nursing globally. Barton's work, particularly her role in lobbying for the American adoption of the Geneva Convention and her efforts to expand the mandate of the American Red Cross to include relief during natural disasters, had a profound impact on the development of international humanitarian efforts. Her insistence on neutrality and impartial aid contributed to shaping the fundamental principles that govern international humanitarian aid today. A comparative analysis of Barton and Nightingale reveals important lessons about leadership in crisis and healthcare reform. Both leaders exemplified the importance of resilience, innovation, and compassion in their work. However, their different contexts, Nightingale in the structured environment of hospitals and Barton in the chaotic settings of battlefields and disaster sites, demonstrate that effective leadership and humanitarian intervention can take various forms, tailored to the challenges and needs of the time. This comparison not only highlights their contributions but also serves as a reminder of the diverse paths leadership can take in the pursuit of alleviating human suffering and advancing public health. Their legacies continue to inspire current and future generations of healthcare professionals and humanitarian workers globally. Clara Barton's life offers a wealth of lessons and inspirational stories that resonate with individuals across different walks of life. Her dedication, resilience, and humanitarian spirit provide valuable insights into how one can effect positive change in the world. Embrace challenges as opportunities. Barton's journey teaches us that challenges can be transformed into opportunities. Her work during the Civil War, when she provided care under dire circumstances, and her efforts to establish the American Red Cross amid skepticism, show how obstacles can be channels for innovation and leadership. The power of determination. Clara Barton demonstrated that with determination and persistence, individuals could overcome significant barriers. Her push to get the Geneva Convention ratified in the United States and her efforts to expand the scope of the Red Cross to include aid during natural disasters are testament to her unwavering commitment to her beliefs. Service to others. Barton's life underscores the importance of service to others, illustrating that true fulfillment comes from helping those in need. Her approach to disaster relief and her advocacy for the wounded and vulnerable highlight the impact one person can have on the lives of many. Leadership by example. Clara Barton led by example, showing that the most effective leaders are those who are willing to do the work alongside their team. Her presence on battlefields and in disaster zones set a powerful example of leadership and courage. The principles that Clara Barton espoused remain highly relevant in today's world, which faces its own set of challenges, including global health crises, natural disasters, and conflicts. Here's how her principles can be applied. Crisis response. Barton's methods in organizing relief can be applied to modern crisis response strategies. Her ability to mobilize resources rapidly and provide direct aid is a model for current disaster response and emergency management efforts. Advocacy and change. Barton's work in changing public policy towards the acceptance of the Geneva Convention paves the way for modern advocacy in humanitarian law and workers' rights. Her example encourages today's advocates to persist in their efforts to influence policy and effect systemic change. Volunteerism. Encouraging volunteerism, as Barton did through the Red Cross, remains a vital strategy in addressing many of today's social and environmental issues. Her life encourages individuals and organizations to cultivate a culture of volunteerism and community support. Inclusivity in leadership. Barton broke barriers in a male-dominated society, advocating for women's roles in public service and leadership. Her legacy is a call to continue pushing for inclusivity and diversity in leadership roles across all sectors. Clara Barton's life and work provide timeless lessons in resilience, leadership, and the power of humanity. Her legacy is a beacon for current and future generations, guiding them in their efforts to make the world a better place through compassion, courage, and unwavering commitment to serving others. Clara Barton's contributions to humanitarian aid and nursing are monumental and multifaceted. As the founder of the American Red Cross, she not only established an organization that has become synonymous with disaster relief and emergency aid but also set a standard for compassion and dedication that continues to inspire. Her work during the Civil War, where she provided care and comfort to soldiers at the front, showcased her incredible courage and commitment to service. Beyond the battlefield, her efforts in transforming the American Red Cross into an institution that responds to both wartime and peacetime crises have left a lasting impact on how humanitarian aid is organized and delivered. Clara Barton's legacy extends far beyond the historical bounds of her life's work. Her pioneering spirit and groundbreaking efforts in the field of humanitarian aid have paved the way for modern emergency response and disaster relief operations. The principles she championed, such as neutrality, compassion, and the importance of timely response, continue to guide the American Red Cross and similar organizations worldwide. Her role as a leader, especially as a woman in times when female leadership was not widely accepted, continues to encourage and empower women in leadership positions across various sectors. Barton's life is a testament to the impact that one determined individual can have, influencing policies, shaping institutions, and saving lives. Additionally, Barton's emphasis on personal involvement and the humanization of disaster response have influenced contemporary practices that prioritize psychological as well as physical aid, recognizing the complex needs of those affected by crises. Reflecting on Clara Barton's historical and social impact offers profound insights into the evolution of humanitarian aid. Her innovative approach to organizing relief efforts, her advocacy for the ratification of the Geneva Convention, and her expansion of the Red Cross's mission to include peacetime efforts are all indicative of her forward-thinking approach. These contributions not only changed the course of aid work in her own time but also set foundational practices that have shaped global responses to disasters and conflicts. Barton's life story, marked by relentless service and advocacy, also serves as a powerful educational tool, demonstrating the values of perseverance, leadership, and civic responsibility. Her legacy is regularly studied in educational settings, ensuring that her life lessons continue to enrich and inspire future generations. Clara Barton remains a towering figure in the annals of American history and global humanitarian efforts. Her legacy is not just in the lives she directly saved but also in the broader impact she had on humanitarian practices and leadership. As we reflect on her life and achievements, we are reminded of the enduring power of compassion and the profound impact that dedicated individuals can have on the world. Clara Barton's story continues to inspire all who advocate for humanitarian causes and underscores the timeless value of serving humanity with courage and unconditional compassion. As we draw this enlightening journey to a close, I hope that you found inspiration in the stories and wisdom of the remarkable individuals we've explored together today. Thank you for joining me.